Hello, welcome to Sharon's Place, and today I'm canning green beans. Won't you join me?
Hello y'all, it's been a long time since I've been on here and made a video. I've had a lot of health problems, but I'm back today. I'm recording because I'm going to can some green beans and I thought you might like to see parts of it. My husband and the ones that helps him picked 22 bushel of green beans a day or two ago. They're some of the prettiest green beans I've ever seen. I'm going to show you some of them. First of all, I've got this big bowl full already snipped and ready to can. There is about 5 to 6 quarts in there right now. I've got a few more to pop and it should make a canner full. This is another half bushel. There is no waste. They're just really pretty. They would be excellent for just like stir frying whole or in large pieces, but I'm canning them because that's how we use them. Alright, in a few minutes I'll be back with you. I'm going to stop for right now and get some things together. As you can see, the green beans here are very clean, popped, ready to go. It's not going to take a lot of washing, but that's what I'm about to do right now. I wash them about 3 times to be sure that I'm getting them good and clean before I put them in a pot and pre-cook them. Sure, you've seen green beans washed a lot, so I'll bring you back when I've got something different going on. My green beans are washed, drained, and ready to go in my container. That's the pot that I'm going to boil them in. As you can see it right here, it is. This is my pressure cooker. And I've got some water boiling over here, and I'll have a couple of other pans with lids to get them nice and hot and to soften the rubber seal compounds. Anyway, I'm going to put the beans in the pot right now. I put just enough water in there to cover them. Because you'll need water when you're filling up your jars. And I like to put boiling water in there to get the process started faster. And I cook them just until they bubble and start to change colors. It's going to need just a little bit more water. I'll bring you back when they're ready to put in jars. As for my canner, I put 3 inches of water down in the bottom of the canner and about maybe a tablespoon of white vinegar, maybe a little less. That's to keep the residue from accumulating on the jars. We have a pretty hard water problem here. It causes a calcium residue to build on the jars, and that helps keep that from happening. It keeps the jars pretty and clear. And I do heat my canner and water until it's like a medium hot. And the reason that I do that is my jars are so hot coming out of the pot that I'm afraid if the water is a little bit too cool, it would break the jars. Okay, I'll bring you back whenever the green beans are finished and I'm starting to put them in jars. I have washed my jars in hot soapy water, rinsed them, and got them all ready. My lids are ready, my canner is ready, and the beans are nearly ready. I always check the rims in the jars to make sure there's no nicks or cracks. And when I'm fixing the green beans, I put 1 teaspoon of canning salt in each jar before I put the beans on them. I also debubble, which is what you'll see a lot of people doing. It's to get the air pockets out of the jar. And I like to bring my pressure up slow. That way you don't have as much siphoning out of your jars and stuff. So I'll bring you back over when I'm filling my jars and you can watch that. Alright, I'm starting to put the green beans in the jar. I start with this quart right here. It's a pretty jar, isn't it? It's green. It's not an old jar, but I know you can't see my head. I'm the headless canner today. I start out by putting about a teaspoon of canning salt, which I keep handy in a small jar. I'm going to turn my burner off, remove my lid, and you'll see when I start dipping these green beans that they have changed colors. They've gone from a bright green to a duller color. I don't cook them till they're done. I'll do a couple of jars. I fill them pretty full. Poke them down. Put a few more in there along with some of the water. Watching about my head space. I do about ½ inch of head space. I usually put my beans to the bottom of the rings on the jar, right there. I don't know how well you can see that with this camera. And I fill my water up to that ½ inch head space. Sometimes it's a little more, maybe 3/4 of an inch. But I try to get it up about right there. Now, I'm ready to put my lids on. The first one I'm going to put on, I'm using this magnetic stopper. I meant magnetic jar lifter, but really I don't need it for that because these are Tatler lids. I have the ring marked with a black magic marker, and that denotes that this is the first time that this ring has been used. And there's the plastic lid. I put them together, set them on, and get, this is a wide mouth jar, so I'll get the band. I like to screw it down finger tight and back off just a little, not a lot. And then it goes in the canner. Now here's a regular jar. A little bit of salt. I don't think I put quite a teaspoon. I think I usually put about a ½ teaspoon to 3/4. I salt them more when I cook them because I usually season them with meat, like bacon or ham maybe. Sometimes I bake the beans in with chicken and chicken broth, chicken stock. I don't know about the sound quality of this camera either. May not like it very well. I always wipe the bands dry. This one will take a regular size lid and band. You put them on finger tight. Place it in the counter. The sound is where I bumped my plastic ladle. Okay, I'll do that one more time with the Tatler lid. I apologize for my head not being in the scene, but I guess you don't mind whether you see me or not. I'm pretty messy when I'm canning. I guess I'm always messy when I'm cooking or canning. This was a half bushel of green beans, and I hope I get 7 quarts from them. They were very good green beans. No waste, no trash. Again, this is another Tatler lid with one mark. I don't know if you can see that. Sharpie mark. Place it down like that. Something I didn't mention about my canner. Screw that down fingertip tight. It's kind of hot. I'm having a hard time backing up without backing up too much. Actually, my box said easy seal, and it doesn't actually recommend backing that up. It doesn't say not to, but it doesn't say to do it either. But what I was going to say is, on my canner, I forgot to mention that I spray olive oil on my fingers or on a paper towel and rub around the rim. It's bevel shaped there. You have to do that to keep the lid from like freezing, or I don't know what you would call it, but where metal sticks to metal. You wouldn't want it to do that when it starts to cool down, and that just keeps it lubricated and loose, because it does not use a seal. This All American canner does not use a seal like my other canners, my Presto does. I'm going to finish filling the jars, and then I'll bring you back when I'm starting my canner. Well, I'm putting my last jar in the canner. Something I may not have mentioned earlier is I did not scald my jars, or what would you call that, sterilizing them by boiling them or anything. I raised you up a little bit so I could see, or not I could see you, but you could see me. Anyway, I didn't do that because you don't have to do that anymore. I washed them in hot soapy water, rinsed them really well, as I said, and they didn't need it because they're going to get that in the canner, and according to everything we read nowadays, you don't have to do that anymore. This is my olive oil, and I'm going to put that around my canner. I did have 7 quarts, by the way, and a little bit left over. There's about a pint left in my pan, which I can cook for supper if I want to. Now I'm going to put my lid on. I keep my weight tied to my lid with a cord so I don't misplace it. Okay, there is an arrow on this that's engraved into the side of the lid, and you put that on there and turn it. Once you get this seated, turn it until it's at a notch that's in it. Then you tighten these on opposite sides. What I do is I don't tighten them down at first. I look and see if they're level. Same amount of space in the front and the back, and I barely get them down tight so that I can move it a little if I need to. This side is higher than this side. So I'm bringing it down some. A lot of times I take a butter knife, my back's to you, sorry, butter knife and raise it a little on one side if I can. I have to be sure it's not tightened down any. To make sure it's the same. Because if I don't get that right, it'll leak steam. Tighten these down. Check it again. And before the pressure starts coming up, I'm going to raise this left-hand side again a little bit more. You see how it does there? Did it make that sound? There we go. Now it's level. And now I turn the burner to medium high for a while. I'll let steam escape from this open vent here, which has already been checked to make sure it's not stopped up. And when there's a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes, then I put my weight on 10 pounds for here, and I pressure these beans for 25 minutes at 10 pounds. Once it gets up to 10 pounds on the gauge, I like this canner because it has a gauge and it has this weight that jiggles. I'll hear it jiggle one time. I start my timing and time it, let it jiggle about 3 times a minute, and then for 25 minutes. Then when it's finished, I just turn the burner off and leave it alone until the pressure comes all the way down to 0, and I still leave it alone about 15 minutes. And then I will barely tap the pressure valve, the gauge, the heavy weighted gauge. And if steam still tries to come out, I wait another 15 minutes. But when that pressure is down all the way, then I can lift this off, and I'll wait about 5 more minutes. Then I undo all of the knobs and carefully turn the lid back and just prop it aside and leave it alone for 5 to 10 minutes to let the airs come, the jars adjust to the temperature and pressure in the air on the outside. Then I take them out and set them on a towel on my island to cool, and I leave them alone for at least a day or 2. And then when they cool down, I take the bands off the jars. But I'll bring you back when I'm taking them out of the canner. As you can see, this is steaming. It's been steaming here. I think you might can see that. And it's been steaming 10 minutes. So I'm fixing to put the pressure on at 10 pounds. Now when it jiggles, I'll start counting my time up to 25 minutes. And then that canner will be done. Can you hear how it's jiggling? I hear. The pressure is up to 10 pounds. It's actually 11 pounds. And that's what pressure it keeps. And that jiggles about 3 times a minute. And turn the burner down just a little bit to slow it down. It's jiggling a little too fast. The time is up, and I'm going to turn the burner off, and I'm going to walk away. I'm going to let that pressure come all the way down before I do anything else. I'll bring you back then. Well, I believe the pressure is down. Yep. So now I'm going to loosen the bolts. And I'm going to set the lid a little ajar and leave it for about 5 or 10 minutes so the jars won't be shocked. I'm going to take out the beans, 7 quarts, and place them on a towel on my island. Sorry, I know you heard my dog bark. Now on these with the metal lids, I don't do anything to them but set them out on the towel. The Tattler lids, I will check them, and if the band's a little bit loose, and it doesn't have to be much loose, I will tighten them. Just a little. Looks pretty, doesn't it? That's a green jar. Makes the green beans look really nice. I'm gonna have to get a towel to help me tighten them. Right. Yes, was a little loose. The reason you tighten those down is they have to be, when you put the lid on, when you put the beans in the jar and you put the Tattler lid on and you tighten it down, you back up just a little bit because the rubber seal on these are thicker than the sealing compound on a regular lid, so therefore they need a little more space to get the air out. But when you bring them back out, you have to tighten that down just a little bit so it will get down on that seal and press it down more. Alright, I'm going to let you see. They look pretty, don't they? That's my canning video, and I'll catch you later. Again, I apologize for my terrible camera maneuvers. But thank you for stopping by. And if you would, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hit the like button. And I'll see you next time. Bye.